You were told to be quiet. You were told to shrink. You were told that love meant pain. Here you are. Here you rise. Welcome to Powerful Woman Rising from Narcissistic Abuse. The show where we break the chains of narcissistic abuse, reclaim our power, and step into the unstoppable force we were always meant to be. I'm Azadeh, best-selling author, narcissistic abuse educator, and coach to high achievers. Together, we'll uncover the truth, rewrite our stories, and ignite the power within. It's time to rise, it's time to heal, and it's time to take your life back. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Powerful Woman Rising from Narcissistic Abuse. I am beyond thrilled to have this lady on my show today. You guys, there's one thing to work with people and there's one thing to vibe with people. And I get to work and vibe with this incredible, stunning woman, Dr. Dana Anderson. This lady, my God, the killer psychologist. I mean, this lady's vibe and this lady's work is just so right up my alley. I cannot wait. I am so excited to have you. Welcome.
Oh my God, Azadeh, thank you so much. I'm so glad we found each other.
Absolutely. I'm so happy we found each other because, well, synergy is so important and discernment is vital. And who we bring into our circle and our surroundings is so important. And when it's the right one, it's so appreciated. So thank you so much for being here, Dr. Dana. Let's get started. Let's get started into the nitty gritty, the juicy, the tidbits. I want to go right into you're a forensic psychologist. Like, how powerful is that? That is not just for any person, nevertheless, just for any psychologist. And I was looking at you as this stunning woman, beautiful woman that goes in to prison, jails, talking to murderers, rapists, sex offenders. I got to ask you right away, how do you do that? How do you manage that? How do you navigate that without getting triggered? Like, we all want to know, how do you do that? And the way you look at as beautiful as you are, how do you navigate your work and bypass or dodge comments, even triggers? How about even your own biases and value systems of sitting and questioning evil? How do you do it? Tell us.
So I have really good boundaries. I know where I begin and I know where I end. I'm on a mission and I stay in my lane. I go in there and I know what I'm doing. I'm there for one thing, whether it's a specific interview and I'm gaining specific information and I'm prepared. So everything else doesn't matter. So everything else is just static. So if you're yelling at me and you want, like somebody was saying, they wanted my skin, like
What?
skin, maybe they wanted to wear it, right? Or they're saying different things so that all these chaos, so this is static or things that they don't penetrate through me. So they're just, I know exactly what I'm doing and I've already come prepared, way prepared. So I already know who I'm interviewing. I already have the medical records. I've already compiled the report. Like I'm bringing my laptop. I know what tests I'm going to administer. I know what specific outcome I'm looking for. So all this other stuff, it's just coming at you and I don't need it. I don't care. So, you know, if they're screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
So I worked in the psych hospital for 4 years, which is a very intense environment. There's moaning, yelling, screaming, like banging, crying, like all day. And there's code grays, and you're responding. You're doing physical interventions, like you're putting on a spit mask, you're doing 4-point restraints, you're constantly on, you're elevated. Your mood is elevated all the time. Like, right? You know, you're always on the go. You're ready,
Yeah.
ready for
Yeah.
attack, ready for someone to
Yeah.
come at you. And over the years, you really do condition yourself to be ready for anything. And it takes a while to be trained where you would never let, you're just uh after doing it maybe thousands of times, like you just uh it just becomes like second nature. Like I'm so programmed, like so yeah. I it Doing this career is not for everyone. It's definitely, you have to have a tough mindset, and you filter. So I have a filter. I
Mm.
have a filter. All
Mm-hmm.
this stuff is not coming in. And I don't store things. I deliberately don't store things in my long-term memory or things. It's like a filing system. So yeah, I'll have my, I know it sounds so, yeah, so I can definitely compartmentalize things. But when I have my computer up or I'm getting certain information from their interview, I don't need 100% of that. I'm getting what I'm getting. So if it's a risk assessment for suicide or homicide or sex offender or whatever's going on, I'm only looking for that information and I'm putting it in my report. And so, yeah, sometimes I feel like a machine. Sometimes like I'm just going in there, just get all this information.
Wow. That is bulletproof mentality. That is a mindset that we all, I mean, I think about athletes. I think about, um, you know, people that have to have that mindset. And I'm not like, how did you get there? So are you saying you got there through working at that psych hospital for 4 years? You just eventually just got this really thick skin? I mean, or do you have like a preparation or a a plan before you go into these? Do you put on this new Dr. Dana before you go into these prison cells? Is there any preparation prior, or are you just now automatic, robotic, and you just go in and look for what you need and then walk out?
Yeah, I'm on a mission. I go in and go out and leave, and everything else I'm not concerned with. Um, I know. Um, well, I want to go back just a little bit. There was a few key things in my life that kind of brought me to choosing
Yes.
this career field. And sometimes, so I'll give you this scenario and you can decide whether I chose forensic psychology or somehow like it chose me, or like, did I have even an option here?
Mm, mm,
So, how do we choose the career, the life that we're living? Like, how did we get
mm,
here? There's a series of moments and things. And looking back, I'll tell you one of my most, how do I say this? Like, there's some key defining moments in your life.
mm-hmm.
And so I started first grade when I was 5. And so I remember going to school. So I was probably 5, maybe 6, but I remember in the car, I was sitting in the front seat, and my mom had a gun, and she was standing on the porch, and she was wanted to blow my dad's head off. And I'm sitting next to him, and I'm assessing this. She's screaming, yelling. There's sweat on her nose. It seems like someone's going to die. My dad, I'm looking to him to see his reaction, like, we don't want this to go down. I'm just trying to go to school. And he's laughing and he's mocking her. And I felt confused because he was antagonizing her and it seemed very serious. And no one in the back seat, you know, my other three siblings at that time, nobody was saying anything. And I just seemed very confused about the
Mm.
situation. I didn't know anything about domestic violence. I didn't have any measure or standard to know what was happening in other homes. I just knew what I played through in my mind repeatedly through the years. And in that moment, I just thought, someone will die. It won't be me. I'll be fine. I'll take care of myself, or like we'll get adopted out, we'll get farmed out, maybe foster care. Like maybe I want to live with my Aunt Crystal. Um, like I'm just going to do everything not to die. I just want to live, you know? And, but I really didn't understand how to make it stop. So I just, right. So how I was, I didn't understand either of them in that moment. So through the years, I was exposed to a lot of those scenarios, and I eventually intervened as I got older and you used my words and tried to navigate between them of such violence, risk, them wanting to kill each other at different times. And there was a gun, or my dad's strangling her out and she's suffocating and he's blocking the phone. And so you play through these scenarios very carefully to decide, what is my move? What is my next step here? I'm not sure. I'm not equipped. I don't have the knowledge or skill set, but I'm going to I analyzed my options at that time and I made different decisions that were based on survival. So who knew over time I would actually be doing risk assessments as an adult? But there was many counters that I faced, and I felt um, that I was ill-equipped. Yeah, I did the best I could in those situations. And I think I kept saying, I think I'm born in the wrong family. Like, I think someone should get me out of here. I was like, you know what? I think I should be born in like a rich family, and like I should be living not in this trailer in the woods, like in poverty with all this chaos. I was just really hopeful it was all just a mistake, when I would get out. And so it's just really conflicting, and I didn't have a good um, viewpoint of the world. I wasn't exposed to other families. So as I grew up, you go over uh, other people's houses and you observe they're all like, wait, this, I want to live here. Wait, I want the new life. You have a better family. How do can someone adopt me? Like,
Yes, yes.
so there were different scenarios. And then there was another scenario. I just remember one of my siblings was suicidal. And I remember she called to meet up. We ended up going to IHOP and she's telling me all this. And I was just sitting there and she's telling me, and I just felt like, I don't have all the answers. I need to get more educated. Like, how can I do better?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
felt,
Yeah.
I felt kind of helpless. So over time, when you can't change the situation or the circumstance, you have to change yourself. So I sought out education. I sought out being a domestic violence and sexual assault advocate. I got more education. I try to educate my family, like, guys. And they did not listen to me.
Right, right.
They did not, and they did not. Um, I had meetings with my mom, like, this is violence, like, you can leave, all the things, right? So,
Yes.
and I really couldn't change it. So I, I just thought all I can do is just grow up and eventually get out of here and have a better life and not do this. Like, I've never been violent and I have no interest in it. It's not, even with all I'm exposed to, it is not for me. And I use my words. So interestingly enough, I became a psychologist and I have intervened in a lot of lethal cases. And so that's a unique position, but I found that I
Yeah.
can talk through things and I can listen to understand, and I listen to see what people really want. And through my time working in different settings, I've had so many people tell me, I just wanted to be heard.
Mm. Oh. Whew.
And I'm telling you that with domestic violence restraining orders where the man wanted to kill his wife, I'm doing their intervention. They're on a hold, psychiatric hold for danger to others, and I'm talking to them. So I'm the person now. And so sitting through that and being able to hold that space and to hear them and listen for understanding, and maybe I've had enough training where I'm able to do that. Maybe I wouldn't have chose forensic psychology, but it's like I just had to.
Yeah.
I had to figure it out. I had to find the answers. And I really didn't understand psychologically what was going on with my parents. I was very confused. Um, and through my time now, right, going to school and figuring things out, I have, really sharp insight now with exactly what was going on. And
Mm.
that's really puts it in focus. And I feel like my vision is that much clearer. And I understand these dynamics, they're complicated.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
especially in mutual combat when there's family violence. And, just for the record, I've kind of abhor the word domestic violence. I feel like domestic is this like 1950s words, but it's
Yeah.
like it really affected our whole family. So they were fighting, but we were exposed to it continuously, and it really affected how we viewed relationships. And I remember my dad bringing home flowers, and I was just disgusted because
Oh.
I like, and that's kind of stayed with me. So flowers, don't send me flowers. So
Yeah. Well, I'll send you
Right.
chocolate.
I didn't, yeah, thank you. Send me lots of chocolate. But like what it meant was not change. And it was really hard to watch all those years and to be wanting change. And I didn't want any of it. I didn't ask for any of that. I was born into that.
Right.
I didn't have a choice. So things got worse. They had 8 kids, and my dad really couldn't bring home the bacon. In fact, funny story.
Oh boy.
Funny story. One time he was gone for so long, we thought he was working somewhere,
Ah,
waiting for him to come home because I'm thinking like money to fill the propane tank to get hot water, and things like that. But he came home with a pot-bellied pig and this donkey because they traded him. So we were just so okie, like living in the woods in this trailer, and like we're waiting for the paycheck. He brings home a donkey and a pig, and then so it was just like kind of chaos, like, you know I just thought, am I even gonna turn out, like, is there
is
any
it?
for me?
Oh
Like,
my God.
I just really didn't want any of it, and I really didn't know how life was going to turn out. And that, my dad never really approved of us getting an education, and he really prevented us from going to school. And I wasn't really sure why, because it seemed like education was a good thing.
Right.
I thought, I'm curious about the world. I'd like more information, please. Like, right? I really want to know what's out there. And I remember him, even preventing us from going to school, like locking the gate on the property and like not, couldn't go to school. So, and I would like tell my mom, like, this is illegal. you have to let the children go to school. Like is we, you guys are like, it was just so frustrating. And this is kind of a full circle of how I
Yes,
became a forensic
yes.
psychologist, but I did eventually in my 30s meet a guy, end up getting in a situation where I wanted to leave. So there was some domestic violence. So I just wanted to leave, back out and leave. But when I was backing out, he actually put me on the ground. So I never returned to him, but all of this resulted in me going to court and him filing things and me testifying and like a number of things. He stalked me for many years. And my dad came to testify against me in court. And so if you can imagine this scene, but I wondered what he would say. And when he got on the stand, he said she wants to get an education and better herself. So was what he testified. So he didn't want me to go to school. So he was helping my ex testify that I should not have custody of my son. And I thought in that moment, my attorney looked to me in horror, like, as people, like, is that what he said? But it was sort of this pivotal moment as I sat there very calmly for everyone to see, like, he's just literally a woman is not allowed to even go to school. I'm supposed to remain in this relationship and I don't have rights. And he's literally testifying that I should. And in that moment, it's like, excuse me, sir, what is the highest level of education I can get? Because sign me up. I'd like to go. And I'm going and we're done here. And there was another pivotal moment in that case where I agreed for psych evals in a child custody case. And I was so excited and hopeful that the psychologist would pull all the criminal records. He was stalking, this was going on. And he didn't do any of that. He didn't not do any of that. And I said, never mind, I'll go do it myself. I will go become a forensic psychologist. This is how you do it. You didn't pull any records, you missed it, you are worthless. And so it kind of took that pain point of like, you know what, let me flip the script. Let me come back to court and I'll be testifying. And nobody's going to withhold me. Like all this stuff to keep me back. Like education became powerful. I have more knowledge now and I'm so grateful for it. I have options. I don't have to remain motionless and helpless. I'm not a victim. I'm empowered. And I feel so thankful that I didn't let it stop me, from pursuing something. Now I'm able to help other people and be that person. And that's cool because it's a full, like, I get it. And I'm here to help. And it's a really wonderful feeling to know I'm here now.
Yes.
I'm on this side of the table.
You not only, I mean, I think about your story. At 5 years old, you had the brain of a 30-year-old woman going.
That sounds so terrible.
But I mean, right, it is. And it is terrible, but at the same time, it's this God-given intelligence, this level of maturity that we all adult children have to endure. We lose our childhood and we have to become immediate adults now. And to have, gosh, I didn't know you had 8 siblings or 7, including you. And not only did you, and we learn this, we kind of energetically attract the familiar in our families. As I have shared with you, I had sex addict boyfriends, was in boyfriends with domestic violence. which was just a continuing pattern of my childhood. And you did too. And then when he put his hands on you, you knew right then and then, this is going to end with me. It's not going to go on. It's not going to repeat. I'm done. And then you went to go get help, and the system failed you. And even I remember in one of your reels, you talked about how the police officer was asking you out, right? He asked you out.
So when it comes to asking for help, you have to ask the right person. And I love that you have all the resources on your website. You have all the crisis hotlines and numbers, and there's some wonderful resources out there. It can be frustrating as a person seeking help. So you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
You're vulnerable. And look, I was broke and shit out of luck, right? So you're looking for resources, and it almost can be kind of predatory. So you're very
Mm-hmm.
careful with who you share information with,
Mm-hmm.
or even like you're just so it really was frustrating
Mm.
um, for attorneys or law enforcement or something to sort of be like, well, we could get together and go to coffee later. And I remember the guy saying that, and I was being stalked. My ex had a gun. There, we had like a lethality task force with the DA at the time to keep eyes on me, and I, it was just, it was so frustrating to be in that position, and I to I just felt so mad that you would even like
Yeah.
people would ask you out during these vulnerable times. Do I look like I'm available? Honestly, red flag for you. I mean, I'm
Red
like, get out of here. Like, get away from me. Like, why would that would be your introductory
flag.
statement? And through the years, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not impressed by like I go to help people with a legal case, and then they're like, well, we'll have to talk about this over dinner. And I said, no, we won't. We won't be talking about that over dinner. And they'll like repeat it, and you go, we're not. We will not be going now. We'll not be meeting anywhere. We'll be doing this via remote or phone call. But it's like, don't press my boundaries because they're solid. We're not even going there. Like, I'm
Mm.
very
Mm.
strict, and I don't like to be challenged with boundaries because I just know where it can lead. And I already know what I know. So I already see the end before the beginning. So don't try me. Right?
Mm. Yes.
Just
Yes.
if I don't want it, we're just done. So I just will not be involved with those types of interactions. I don't have time for that.
Right. But to have to assert and enforce your boundaries during a really vulnerable time is a reflection of, well, you're powerful, powerhouse, mad drive to fight for what's right. But at the same time, kind of a system are we dealing with here that's supposed to be protecting us from a stalker that has a gun? Like, and so that's what you did. You said, I can't change them, but I'm going to go and become a forensic psychologist so I can make an impact. I can make a change. I can be an advocate, right?
You know what? I looked around at that time looking for a forensic psychologist, and I looked, and well, where were they? Nowhere to be found, really. And then I thought, well, this seems like a really important role that I think I could do. And I think I would be better than this guy.
I
So
love it.
I was like, oh, okay, this guy's out. Like, we're done here. We're done. I'm gonna go do it myself. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. It's gonna be hard. But I think that
Mm.
this is the pathway for me. And I think there's a lot of good that I can do because of my previous training, right? So it's like
Yes.
all that
Yes.
in my
Yes.
childhood, it's like, let's just capitalize on this. I feel like I should be getting paid for that too. Anyways, all the times I was doing crisis interventions growing up.
Yeah, I think so. Right. That's a good point. Yeah.
And crisis intervention it's not for everyone. It's most people, you know what, I remember when I applied for the psych hospital, that
Mm.
the person that interviewed me, she goes, why? She goes, people run away from this job. They run the other direction. But you're coming here, you're running here. Why? It's basically like, what's wrong with you? You're coming to the middle
To
of the
us. Yeah.
crisis.
Yeah.
Like it, can you explain that? And, we all have a reason why. And well, so it was part of my training for my postdoc, but to train and do more crisis interventions, you can eventually develop that skill set and be able to be equipped for higher levels of crisis where you're going in. And so you just
Yeah.
I I have a curious mindset, so I was very curious about so many things. Like I wanted the answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is this diagnosis, or
Yeah.
what is this psychosis, or what is this? So when I grew up, everything was very religious. So actually another defining moment was my mom's mom was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and she had voices and she would speak to them. And so growing up, everyone was very religious and said she's demon possessed and she had
Oh.
demons in her. And so I was very
Oh.
curious if that was true or not. And
Mm.
so 17 years old, I popped up I don't know, I could have been 16, but I popped up like my VHS recorder. I think I like borrowed one and I propped it up and I'm like, Grandma, like, and I interviewed her, and I wish I could find that tape to this day. It'd be like
Oh.
so funny.
Wow.
I was asking her because all about the voices and the psychosis. I needed to find out. I needed the answer. I have to know. I need to know. Um, so I was all very confused with everything she told me. But over time, like I figured it out. And turns out an antipsychotic named Risperidol, like actually, she's no longer psychotic. So not demon possession. And it's like, guys, you guys are like out of date, out of touch, out of time. Like there are actually real solutions here,
Mm.
and we can solve this problem. And the knowledge that I gained actually helped people. And becoming a forensic psychologist, my family was not in approval of it, as evidenced by what I'm saying. But across the board, it's like almost like they thought it was witchcraft, or like you're a woman of the world, like seeking your own power. Like you're just like disowned. Like people didn't really understand. And it was before time when it was sort of cool. Maybe now understand it more, but so I really was ostracized and not well understood. And I felt very alone. And I was like,
Mm.
that's that's okay. I'm all alone, but I'm like on my own pathway. And you know, I don't really need anyone's approval. Wasn't really asking for their approval. I obviously was never gonna get that. It was just like I would love to learn more and more and more. And like my hunger for knowledge, it has never been quenched. Like I continue to be
Mm.
curious, and I'm so thirsty.
Yes, I love that. My hunger for knowledge has never been quenched. I really resonate with that big time. I love knowledge. It is power. It is truly power. And I think sometimes too that people, AKA families, that have abandoned their own dreams and their own lives and their own goals don't want you to. They want you to abandon you. So they try and pull you back into patterns that they are comfortable with, as sick and toxic as dysfunctional as it is.
Yeah, and I also became a hairdresser because I realized I wanted to beautify my mom and she could feel better, and she needed to like just love
Yeah.
herself. So
Yeah.
I would get some in from like the Dollar Street and I would spray her
Mm,
hair, like blow dry
mm,
it, and like put makeup on her and like look in her closet for some like I was like a parent because I wanted her to feel if she felt good and she felt safe and we wouldn't need to fight or yell or we could just invest in herself and if she saw herself being pretty. And I remember
mm-hmm.
when I did help her with things, um, she changed. She became a different person. She's very soft and like kind. And so I noted that. And so I was like, how can we improve? How can we do more here? Am I going to be a hairdresser?
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right, right. Fixing our parents so that they become better parents, right?
I really wanted to get them on board with
Yeah, yeah.
my parenting plan, and they resisted all my whole life. So it's interesting now doing the role that I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do have parenting plans for parents. I do court-ordered CPS psych evals for parents who are resistant.
Wow.
Wow. So I can't speak their language, and I am like, I do try to get them on a path to being compliant with court orders and treatment and things. Um, and those are very litigious evaluations where people are at risk of losing their children,
Right.
and they're called parental termination evaluations. And so those are probably, I don't know, maybe one of the least likely things that people like to do as far as psychology, but I do them. So I do all the things that nobody wants.
Oh, wow.
What's wrong with me? So I remember doing some of my training um, for school, and I said I took the worst sites, the worst, nobody liked. I remember working with parolees out of prison. They were psychotic, they were violent, and they wanted to stab people. And I worked in downtown South Sacramento, and I worked with these folks. Most of them had killed someone. They were out, and they were a little bit psychotic and definitely wanted to stab someone. They'd carry a knife, or it was pretty
Mm-hmm.
risky. And I
Mm-hmm.
was there.
Mm-hmm.
I was at this site, did some street interventions, like basically how to get people not to stab someone that day. Um, so it was pretty undesirable site. And it was, I was involved with pretty sketchy people, pretty dangerous. Um, but I was like, I got to meet the people who murdered. So nobody wanted those people that were convicted murderers. And nobody wanted, no, was there anybody at the table like saying yes? And I always said, I will take them all. I will. And I ended up,
Oh, oh my
I did.
God.
And so my lack of knowledge was in like female sex offenders. And so I wanted to challenge myself.
Oh.
And so I wrote curriculum for like the needs of female sex offenders, and I ran a group, and um, it was challenging. Okay. Um, you know, challenging yourself beyond like your what you've ever done before to like face all these women and be with them. Like they were all women that were prostituting or sold as children, and then
Mm-hmm.
eventually got turned their kids, gave their kids to an abuser. So they were registered sex offenders. So, and I was like the only well, there was like one white girl in my group, but
Yeah.
it was all those challenging things, right? That I would say, so pushing yourself, I pushed myself to do things, to understand things, to work with the most violent sex offenders, rapists, murderers, and then to understand. And now I have a lot more knowledge, and I'm better equipped to do these evaluations. And there's almost like nothing I can't do as far as
Right.
I'm like, it's so I'm glad I pushed myself, and I'm glad I had that curious mindset to know like to search out new like information, all the stuff I didn't know, right? You kind of feel trapped if you don't have enough information. You feel really small or helpless, but like the more information you learn, you really feel more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
And
so much more equipped to navigate through life, like um so I actually do enjoy what I do, and um it's a very interesting career. It's like true crime in real
yeah,
life. Yeah.
yes. I mean, I just that you brought up female sex offenders. I know they're out there, but nobody talks about it. Nobody really, we're always looking at the guy. We're always looking at the guy. And I know percentage wise it's higher, male sex offenders, but female sex offenders, you did I understand you? You ran a group with the woman, all the women that were the sex offenders. You ran the group with them in it with you?
Yeah, and I wrote the curriculum and taught them, and I sought my knowledge from them to tell me what their needs were. People who are unhomed around on parole, and like what their risk was for reoffending, and like to sit with them and like understand their life. And it was a harsh reality check, because some of them were prostituting or
Yeah.
and it's it's like I feel I've lived 1,000 lives, when you
Yeah.
sit with someone and you hear their all the things, right, if that are coming to my memory about the ways they were abused, right? The things that happen, um, makes me thankful for where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
Could just be a wrong turn. We could end up someplace else. But here we are.
Yeah.
Was a lot of things that happened. My life's not this, I was given a bad hand, like
Yeah.
we talked about with
Yeah.
you. I really was dealt not a good hand. And I was just trying to do the best I could with it. And I was like, what, let me do the best I can here, with what I'm given.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really am grateful. Um, I have a sister that is homeless, and she is, you know, it's been years now, with drugs and alcohol. And, I've done plenty of crisis intervention there, uh,
And nothing.
for decades. It's the saddest story ever told, really, when you watch someone go through being an addict.
Oh,
Can't quite reach them,
yeah.
not even with your words, not even with all the words I have and all the resources, right? Some people just aren't there.
Yeah. And I think about you said she's homeless, and I think about homeless. Another perspective of being homeless is mentally they have lost their way and fallen so far from their instinct and separated from their instinct that they're really hard to reach. And working with addicts myself, as a recovering addict myself, my heart goes out to you, Dana, in a big, big way. That here you are, a forensic psychologist that broke all generational curses, traumas, abuse cycles. Yet your sister in the same house, grew up in the same house, right? She grew up in the same house as you, same parents, same house, same siblings, same donkey, same pig, same everything. And she's unreachable, right?
And the thing is even though you have the same parents and,
Yeah.
8 kids, so we all live different lives, and, you know, their experiences were different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there were peak times when abuse was worse, right? For different
Yeah.
people, from
Yeah.
different siblings, different, we all had
Yeah.
different experiences, is what I'm saying. So I was actually the middle child, and
Mm.
I had a brother that died after me. There was a gap, and my parents were in a grieving stage when I was that age, and there was violence. And then there was 4 more. Then I became the oldest of the next 4. So there were really
Mm-hmm.
generational gap.
Mm. Mm.
And so maybe I had an interesting perspective because I was the bottom of the 4 and then the top of this next. And so, my parents never had alcohol or drugs. So that wasn't
Wow.
happening. I know, right? You're like, "Oh,
Wow.
well, imagine if there was."
Uh, yeah. Well, that takes a very interesting step. Usually, domestic violence is alcohol and drugs involved. Usually.
So there was no alcohol or drugs. And so I never used alcohol or drugs. So just was never known about, wasn't knowing it, it was not there. So
You never numbed out? You never numbed out on drugs or alcohol ever?
no. The crazy thing is that
Wow.
I took the pain. I took the pain. I got involved in martial arts and we got I took the pain, hard pain and a raw pain. So I did not ever choose that. But what if it was introduced? So there's moments, if something was
Mm.
introduced, it could have consumed you. It could have been a
Mm.
good
Mm.
option.
Mm.
And I understand that.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
understand that. No, so it was never not there. But for my younger siblings, like that came in, it's a um, that option to numb out was available. It wasn't available for me. But had it been, I always sort of think like, would you
Right.
tapped out? Well, I mean, I was looking for some way to deal with life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I am really passionate about talking about drugs and alcohol and talking to your kids early on. And there's just moments, if you don't tell them, someone else will, and they'll bring it up in a moment where it just seems like a good way to cope. And alcohol is so insidious.
Mm.
Like so, and my sister um had that. And then, marijuana or then other things. And so, and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes an addiction where you can't, the, when you come for people to come off that and deal with the reality, no thanks. So my experience working with addicts, like I'd like to remain psychotic or remain in this state because the reality, my real world is worse. So I want to be in this alternate world. So trying to convince them to come back, it's like, why? This world sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
whoa,
Right.
the painful memories of everything. So I, it's complex.
Mm-hmm.
Chose, and there can be a point of no return where the level of addiction is past certain points
Yes.
of getting into criminal behavior, um, shooting up,
Mm-hmm.
fentanyl. We're getting way out there where that is far more enticing than
Mm-hmm.
pulling someone back into this world. This world, if you've already checked out from, let's check in. You've maybe lost your kids, your house, you're unemployed, you got nothing. Everyone hates you, you're bankrupt. Like what? So, whatever it is. So you're going,
The shit show. Yeah.
tell me why I'm. So they remain in that state. And lots of people I work are unhomed and addicted. And they're like, I'm never going back to the world. I'm going to remain in this psychotic
Yeah.
state forever. And um, so I am grateful that
Mm.
drugs weren't presented to me on those times, right?
Yeah, but you
I go,
yeah, but you got to tell me, Dana, how did you deal with the risk at a mental breakdown from being stalked, from looking at your past, how dad is showing up in the court systems for you? How did you not have a mental breakdown? How did you avoid the mental breakdown?
well, yeah, that's a good question. So maybe I'm about to have
What's
one.
it what?
All right, now I'm gonna have one. Um, Kind of going back to that 5-year-old moment where I never like sought help from anyone or never asked for help or never expected anything. I always felt like reliant on myself. I always felt like I had to come up with the solutions. It was on me. I needed to be emotionally well. I needed to be have the answers. I was really relying on me. Um,
Mm.
so I might have like dove into work to I started working to get money to to get out. I started working, I was either 12 or 13, but I started nannying for 4 kids and then 2 other families. And then I cleaned house and then I made pin cushions and I sold them at this like, I don't know, some sort of farmer's market thing. And I sold them for like $7. Anyway, so I was really focused on um, some other world to get to, like
Yeah,
get to,
yeah,
like if we could just
yeah.
get a little money, get some clothes, get a car, like get out, maybe see
Get out.
get out, maybe like
Get out. Get out.
see
Get
what's out
out.
there, kind of see what's out there.
Mm.
If you would have told me there was nothing out there for me and there's no hope, I'd have been like, well, okay, well, this place is trash. I'm just gonna give up. So I was hoping that there was so when I closed my eyes at night, I would just be like, imagine this whole other life or future and like brainwash myself into thinking like you could, just like just imagine this other world. And maybe if it was, I would just make believe that I could get there if I just kept working hard enough and um kind of just lied to myself.
You,
Tricked. I lied to myself. Like everything's fine.
everything's fine. Yeah.
Everything's fine and the house is on fire and everyone's yelling and it's just chaos. And I think hope saved me. I think there was enough to be like, I think I'm responsible for the my life. Like I would, I think it's on me. I think life's a gift and like what am I gonna do with it?
Mhm.
Like, and I'm like, in the stalking that episode that went on for about 4 years, I remember thinking, if I live and I make it through this, I'm gonna live like life as if it's a second chance and be like, not not be so afraid anymore. Like, doesn't even matter. Like, I'm gonna die anyway. Like, plot twist, we're all gonna die. I don't know if anybody
Yeah,
told you.
yeah, yeah,
But honestly, people like, just so you know, that's gonna happen. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with dying. I'm not afraid of that.
yeah. Me neither. Yeah.
But I would be more afraid of like not living a full enough life or
Mm-hmm.
living with regrets.
Mm-hmm.
And I've um I have a good relationship with my parents now and like I have like not living a life of like regret or victimization or I'm not
Same.
there's
Yeah.
no woe is me. There's nobody. I only share my story with you today as a day because if it helps people
Yes.
in a spot and they're just like need a little glimpse of hope and they're not really sure where things are going, you can, with a little glimpse, just a little bit of light, let some more light in, and eventually just imagine where you want to be. And I always had a notebook and I would write down like goals of where each step that I'm going to do to get to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And just keep doing, and eventually like through my notebooks, it's like eventually now what are my goals now? Like you just keep going and going and going. And it's a really slow, it's a slow ride.
Yeah.
It took me
Yeah.
so long to get here. But the reality is just start now doing the one thing you want to do to get to where you want to go. Like, I was a single mom with 2 kids when I went back to school, and that was not easy. But yeah, do the hard stuff. Do what you want to do, and don't let anyone's opinion even
Right.
matter. And in the end, I'm doing this for me. It's not anyone's approval I need, or I'm not so I feel like I've really healed and come a long ways. And I did have another pivotal moment as I met she was a mental health clinician um, back in my early 20s. And I went to be like, hey, something's wrong with my family. I was like, can you diagnose them or something? So like I said, and she's like, yes, and also. And then I was like, fascinating, fascinating. Let me bring them in here. And so I did. I brought my mom and my sibling, and I was like, guys, I'm not wrong. You guys are all out of whack. Like, this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and I felt like I had someone believe me um, like affirmed my troubles. And then
Mhm.
I never knew in that time. There's no way you could tell me in my early 20s, like you would go on one day and be a psychologist. But like it really was a pivotal point. I really appreciated her. And I'll never forget that because
Mm.
when I had a therapist when I was going through my DV, she came to my house every week for an entire year. We did 40 sessions. And I just said, you're going to work with me on boundaries.
Wow.
And I brainwashed myself. I said, you have to brainwash me into boundaries for a year. Her name was Barbie. I give her lots of props. No, she did that, and till I was brainwashed to never go back, to never tolerate to just boundaries. So I was brainwashed, and now I can brainwash people. But you have to fix yourself first. So I went through all that, and I share that because life changing to less life changing in that moment. That time period was really critical for me, right? When you're in that vulnerable spot. So instead of going out with the comp for coffee,
Exactly.
getting
Exactly.
in another controlling relationship, I'm like, I'm going to be single for years and I'm going to just therapize myself and like get myself together and get educated as a woman. Like I've been, you know, brainwashed to
Mhm.
not so all those boundaries. So now I have boundaries as my favorite topic in the
Mine
world.
too. I love that you said that. You guys, for the listeners, takeaway. Simple. Don't date in the middle or right after you left a DV, a narc, a psychopath, a cheater, any of those. Do not run to another guy. Don't get on dating apps. Heal. Do the hard work. Rise and rebuild your inner world. Do the boundary work. I I'm so I'm this is the biggest touch. This is the most, how do I say this? Because I'm so excited. This is my favorite. This is the most outstanding, my favorite part about you. And you just said it. This is what really resonates and hits home with me. You're a psychologist that did the inner healing. You didn't just study, memorize chapters, and then hurry up and take the test and then go spit it back out. You did the fucking work. You did the work. You did the work. You did the work. And I'm telling you guys, do you hear my passion? Do you hear my excitement? I was raised by a psychologist. All my uncles were doctors. They were all PhDs, and they were one shit show after another, one toxicity, one abusive, one passive, or one sexual molester, or a drug addict, or something, or all of them. And you did the work. Damn it. I love that. I love that. Dana, that's huge, 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 huge for me and for others. Because if we're getting degrees by, even trust me, being a college student and having a degree, it's its own level of hard. But to do the inner work, you had a therapist come to your house for a year to do boundary work. I love that shit. I love that.
It was,
yeah,
I can't, so now I can do that for people.
yeah.
I can, and I know what it's like. I've been on the other side. And also in order to graduate from a doctorate program, or my program required that you do another 40 sessions from a licensed psychologist before you could graduate.
Oh, right, right.
So all those experiences are really good. And just like you would see a doctor for your health and your checkup, your labs, your hormones, like all the things you just do, your annual checkup. Interestingly, people can go their whole life and like not actually evaluate themselves psychologically or understand how that's affecting them physically.
Yes. Oh, can you say that again? Can you, for our viewers that just zoned out, went and got coffee, went and got a Pop-Tart, went and got something that was so huge. Huge. Could
So
you repeat that?
people can go their whole life and maybe see their doctor regularly, but like fail to actually assess themselves psychologically
Mhm.
and see how some of that's connected to their health. So, you could feel depleted or depressed or anxious and like you want a pill or you think it's this fix but like what is going on inside within you? Maybe
Mm.
it's an easy fix. And so when I see people, I have a very holistic approach, but I do a psych evaluation.
Mhm.
It gives like a 12, 15-page printout with everything. But I also have them get their labs, right, to rule out
Yeah, yeah.
do basic things if you're low on vitamin D or things. So your hormones. So, it's all put together, and make some very specific recommendations. So, and even specific meds, like if someone was bipolar and had PTSD, or
Right.
genetic testing for you, customized. So it's a very holistic approach. So people actually start feeling better and kind of find themselves and not be so
Yeah.
lost. How'd you like to go your whole life and just feel sort of lost within yourself? Like, so helping people find themselves and helping them understand about some of these maladaptive thinking patterns that
Mhm.
so they're making these decisions, right? And so really helping people. I love working with people who are challenging to work with, personality pathology, and yeah, so I do court ordered treatment. So um, I I do some really interesting cases, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, I bet you do. Oh my goodness. Dana, that's my favorite thing about you. You've done the inner healing and you've done the external knowledge and power, and now you're a full house in your impact. You're a full house.
I got a better hand now.
You got a better hand now. That's right. That's right. You got a better hand now. Oh,
Yeah, so fake it till you make it. Um,
yeah.
I went my whole life and people are always, I never told anyone about any problems. Why would I? That would be embarrassing, right? But when I got a
Right.
no, I'm serious. I mean
No,
that.
I
So
know. I
if
know.
someone would have told me that I was going on a podcast talking about this, I'd be like, that's not me. I would never do that. I would go to my grave with that. This is embarrassing. Like, why would I be that vulnerable? But when I got my second chance on life, I said, nobody, it doesn't matter. No one cares about you. It's you that I care about others. Like this could help someone. So I'm not, it's a different mindset.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
for sure.
it's more freeing because so it is vulnerable to put your dirty laundry out there and be like, yeah, I was a mess. And
Now I'm not.
exactly. Yeah. What do
And
you
now I'm not, and I'm a powerhouse because of it. I know what you mean. I think there's so much shame that comes with our upbringing, um, to even talk about it, because I think there's so much conditioning and grooming to there's power and privacy, but then but the difference, the balance is, when do you need to be quiet and when do you need to speak up? We don't expose everything, but then we expose at the right time with the right person in the right way, then it's healing. Um, but yeah, just you are the full package. You're the full package, inner and outer. And that's rare. I got to tell you, that's rare. I don't see that often. I don't.
well,
And
we're just like an explosion. We hit
I know,
it's like boom,
like, right? Boom.
boom. I wouldn't mess with either of us.
Right. Because I see your shit coming a mile away. I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. And I'm not paranoid. And this is not old stuff coming back up. I see patterns because I've studied them. I see it. I just handle it more gracefully with demoting, detaching, denying, versus before I used to explode at it and make them see their part or make them see who they are or what they did to me. I don't do that anymore. I just kind of simply disintegrate.
Disintegrate.
Right. I just kind of move away. And that's been an involvement for me, rather than attacking, revenge and hate, and you know all of those things that was affecting me. But my involvement has been to just see it, don't try and unsee it, and walk away from it more. I don't have any, I mean, I don't bring very many people into my close life, but people that do come across, I can feel their energy through a Zoom, through a phone call. I could feel it. And those are the cool things. Those are the gifts we get, right? Right, Dana? We can feel energy. We can sense what's coming. We can feel it. We can feel it. It's like no brainer.
Just like I can sense the evil and the bad, right?
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
know it. We've seen it. I've been here before. I've seen this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
sense the good, and that's the joy that I love is that while I am very discriminatory against the people I engage with or have close in my life, just because
Mm.
my
Hmm.
mental health is so
Oh,
important. And so my rule of thumb is if you're taking from my mental health, you're depleting me or pulling from my energy, then that's not healthy. So a
mhm.
good relationship should like boost my energy and like
Yes.
nourish me. So
Yes.
nourishment, I need nourishment each day because part of what I do can be very dark and could be depleting. It's very exhausting, um, just mentally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can get migraines, so I always prioritize my self-care. So my life is prioritized by keeping myself sane and well and nurtured. And so the people that I choose to have to connect with or talk to, it's so important. And so just for anyone that's listening, if you kind of analyze some of your relationships and someone's, you know, you're emotionally depleted when they call or like
Mm-hmm.
they're taking
Mm-hmm.
from you, they're taking from your time and your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you you may have to analyze that relationship. So for me, I just can't. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a no.
It's a
I
big hard
know.
no, right? It's a hard no. And here's the thing, and I'm so with you on that. And I'm really, it's not that I'm cold or heartless, but I'm really okay with the breakup or the move on. I'm really okay. It's not dramatic, it's not revengeful. It's just we're not a vibe, we're not a match. I'm moving on. And it's okay. It's really okay. Because I don't want to change you or fix you or explain myself. If we're not a match, we're just not a match. I'm not doing it.
And
Doctor, oh, go ahead.
no is a complete sentence.
Yes. Dr. Dana Anderson, killer psychologist. Wow. You inspire me so much. You do. You do. You gave to me on this podcast a lot. And with that, I would like to invite you to do a podcast with me very soon or within our time frame on freaking boundaries, mental and emotional. When your time is right, if you feel led to do this with me, I want you back and I want to be around you because you inspire me as someone that's helping others and has done the inner work, which is so freaking rare in my world that I just love it. I just love it so much. So think about that. Think about coming back. Boundaries, baby, boundaries. I love boundaries. It is an obsession topic for me. It is. And I want to hear yours and I want to hear how you navigate yours.
I don't know who's
yeah.
more obsessed with boundaries.
Boundaries.
Have to duke it out or like arm
We're
wrestle.
gonna, yeah, arm wrestle, yeah, right, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I love that topic. It's probably. I wonder if I like talking about psychopaths or boundaries more. Pretty equal. No, I think boundaries is more because it empowers me. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Oh, before we go, Dr. Dana Anderson, if anybody wants to take in your courses, curriculums, follow you, where do we do that?
So my website is psychologydoctor.com. That's psychologydr.com. You can find out information there to book a session.
Okay.
And I also have my podcast, killerpsychologistpodcast.com, free content, free information on how to become a forensic psychologist, and just free content to sort of understand like the role of a forensic psychologist. And we do some wonderful cases. So whether from solving cold cases or just having wonderful conversations like this. So nurturing for your soul. So come to the dark side with me. Be in touch with your dark side. It's totally fine.
Yeah, you won't age or you won't lose your beauty or you will empower by knowing the reality, right? You will be empowered by knowing the reality and not the fiction version of the world and people, but the reality of people. Thank you so much, Dr. Dana Anderson. You are an incredible soul. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Natalie.